Hello, thank you so much for joining me today, and welcome to the first ever Doodle Days with Zach segment of the Buckeyes at Home series. So I'm so glad you're watching this video. I'm glad you're here with me today. I do want to introduce our special guest. This is Yolo, my cat. He's very fluffy. That's going to be very important because I'm going to be teaching you an exercise today where you doodle around a theme, and our theme's going to be fluffy, so remember that. But just to get started, I do want to say, I know maybe we weren't expecting to be at our homes right now. Maybe a couple weeks ago we were in school or doing whatever we normally do. But I'm glad we're here today. I'm glad that we can doodle together. So this is going to be a lot of fun. Now just to give you an introduction as to who I am the reference librarian at OSU Lima. And a lot of times I'm working with students to find books and articles and other things, just to help them work on their research and to finish their homework. I also visit classes to teach people how to use the library. So that's what I do on a day-to-day basis, but when I'm not working, and I love to work with books, I love what I do. A lot of times at home, I'm working on artwork. And in fact, here is one of my paintings. So this is Sunset on the Reservoir, holding it up a little bit behind Yolo here. So I really loved this image I saw one time when I was walking around the reservoirs. And this isn't so much a landscape as it is a waterscape. So the sky is actually reflected in the water here. So I thought this was so pretty and I thought it just needed to be painted. And that's what I did. Now when I'm not working on more serious subject matter like landscapes and things like that, a lot of times I'm doodling or working on cartoons or even painting cartoons. And I usually carry around a little sketchbook, kind of like this. So this is actually a cartoon I've been working on. It's a little blue jay. It's pretty rough right now, but maybe I'll be adding some colors, and maybe in the next video I'll show you how to draw some birds. But at this point, I do want to tell you, I started drawing when I was maybe 4 or 5, and I've been drawing ever since. So I hope that you draw, I hope that you doodle, I hope that you have fun with it, and maybe if you don't, this will be a great start for you. I started doodling more because I really loved seeing the pictures in the books I was reading, and I wanted to kind of make stories of my own. So I'm also a big fan of comic books, so I still collect comic books and read them to this day. So that's just something that I love to do. Now, we're going to start doodling here, but before we do, I want you to go grab some art supplies. So I want you to hit the pause button on your screen, and I want you to go find some paper, maybe some pens, some pencils or colored pencils, maybe even markers or crayons. Crayons are so cool. And then when you find those, I want you to hit the play button so that we can resume the video. Welcome back. So I'm so glad that you found those art supplies. We're going to go ahead and get started with a doodle. So, like I said earlier, this is a warm-up exercise that you can do when you're about to get started on a new piece of artwork. So I'm going to erase what I already put on this title board here, and we're going to be drawing something fluffy. Now, for me, I'm going to be drawing Yolo because Yolo is very fluffy. But you don't necessarily have to draw Yolo. You can draw whatever you want to draw. Feel free to draw anything that you think is just really, really fluffy, or follow along with me, whatever you want to do. Now Yolo has these pointy ears. They kind of look like little triangles, and something that I think is really helpful is to look at the shapes that you see in the things that you're drawing. So since his ears look kind of like triangles, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to draw 2 triangles, and those are going to be his ears. And I'm going to connect them with this row of little lines. So that's going to illustrate that he has hair at the top of his head. It's going to make him look even fluffier than if I were to just draw a straight line across. Now, I've got the top of his head done, and Yolo is a special kind of cat called a Persian. So they have kind of smushy faces, so keep in mind that some of the details are going to look a little different than some cats you might be used to. But you've probably read books with cats in them. So what are some books that you've read that have cats in them? That's awesome. Those sound like great books. Yeah, I've read like The Cat in the Hat, Pete the Cat, and even in the Harry Potter series, there's Crookshanks, who is a lot like Yolo. He looks a lot like Yolo, except he's a bit more orange. So I'm going to keep drawing Yolo here, but it's cool that you're already seeing some cats in stories. And take some of the fluffy things you're doing and drawing today and try to make a story out of them. I think sometimes one of the coolest parts of doodling is that you can make stories out of what you draw. So I'm going to add to his cheeks here. I'm going to make some really fluffy triangles here. So Yolo has a lot of fur on his cheek that kind of comes out like this. So it makes his face look a lot wider. So I've got a couple triangles here. I'm just drawing 3. Now I'm going to get started on his facial details. So I'm going to start with his eyes. So the eyes are a lot of times when you're looking at a drawing, one of the first things that you noticed And when you're seeing these eyes, it's important to remember that the eyes are the window to the soul. So you can capture a lot within an eye. You can express a lot of different emotions. So I'm going to draw his eyes pretty wide, because Yolo has very brownish eyes, but they also, when he's very excited or happy, he has very big eyes. So these are going to be pretty large circles here. Now the colored part of the eye is called the iris. So I'm going to be working on the iris. So I've got the outline done. Now we've got to start filling it in. But if I want a little bit of light reflected in his eyes, I can just leave a tiny white dot towards the corner of that iris. And that's going to show a little bit of light reflection. It's going to add a little bit of detail to our drawing, to our doodle here. So there we go. Yolo's got a little bit of light reflected in his eyes. And now we need to work on his nose and his mouth. So Yolo has an upside down triangle shaped nose, which you can kind of see here. But because his face is kind of smushy, it's going to be a little bit higher up on his face than maybe a normal cat's would be. So I'm going to draw it kind of between his eyes. So that's an upside down triangle. And that triangle, just to show the lines of his nose, it's going to be doing the H in the OHIO. And I'm going to draw little lines that extend directly above the points on the upside down triangle. Now his mouth is a little bit wider and kind of stretched out compared to what you might normally draw with a cat. So it goes down kind of to the ends of his eyes there. So now I'm going to draw his chest with a few little lines there. And notice how a lot of times I'm just drawing little lines. I'm not drawing a big solid line and a lot in this video. And that's because my particular art style is using a lot of lines to make up an image. So everyone has their own unique art style. So if you're drawing Yolo, your drawing may look a little bit different by the time we're done. But I'm going to keep drawing here and add a few more lines because I want to show off his really fluffy tail. And I find that when you're drawing something fluffy, having a lot of lines makes it look like a very fluffy tail. So see, it's not like a solid line here, but now it looks even fluffier because I've got all these lines drawn. So now we come to one of my favorite parts of a drawing, of a doodle, which is the fine details. I should probably point out that there's a little bit of a difference in the markers I'm using here. So I'm using a tinier marker point for the fine details. It looks kind of like a tiny pointed tip there, but then we also have the wider marker that I have been using to make these wide outlines. So, but for this, I'm going to be using a smaller marker because I'm going to be drawing his whiskers now. Now you can't really see them super well in the video, but Yolo has these whiskers that extend past his eyes. So he's got little eyebrow whiskers. So I'm going to draw those. Then he's also got whiskers directly below his eyes. And then he's got some hair coming out of his ears. So we've got our fine details drawn, and now that means we come to my favorite part of a doodle, which is when we color it in. Now, I don't have a yellow marker, and yellow is kind of yellowy pink, but what I do have is I have a light orange marker, and that's going to help me to kind of give the illusion of a lighter color, because he does have a little bit of orange in his fur. So what I'm going to do is, instead of drawing just, coloring him completely orange, I'm just going to use a few lines to add a little bit of color to some parts of his face and to his tail. So, and maybe his chest here a little bit too. But this is going to help add the illusion of a light color with a little bit of orange streaks in it. So I'm just drawing a few little lines, and there's Yolo. So I'm going to hold this up so you can see it a little bit better, so I'm going to take it off its easel. But yeah, there is my doodle of something fluffy. So I want to know, what did you draw? Hold up your doodles to the screen for me. Wow, those look great. Excellent work. I'm so glad that you drew something that fluffy. I mean, it's very, very fluffy. Maybe even more fluffy than Yolo is. So, and if you drew Yolo, does yours look just like my drawing? It probably doesn't, but it does look a lot like your drawing. And that's because, like I said earlier, we all have our own unique art styles. We all draw differently, and that's kind of the beauty of art. We all create something that is uniquely our own. So at this point, that's kind of the end of this first video. There will be another video coming out soon, So keep an eye out for it, but I would love to hear your questions or read any comments that you might have, or if you want me to draw something in the next videos, make sure you leave it in the comment section below. And I'd also love to see your pictures a little more up close, so if you want to email them to me, my email address is below this video too. So once again, thank you for being a part of the Buckeyes at Home series. Thank you for watching the very first Doodle Day with Zach, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks so much. Have a fantastic day.